want to go all the way back, and let's talk about your time in TSM, which became TQM, which became the entity we all know as Astralis now eventually. That was, I mean, first of all, you stepped into that team out of the fetish era of the in-game leader, and he brought in great CT sides. He was great on defense. They were known for their defensive halves. Offensive sides really struggled, and obviously, at that time in the existence, a team known for not being able to get over the hump and kind of win the big games. When you stepped into that team, like what did you really feel like was kind of your focus as the leader? Like, what did you identify as the problem that you wanted to fix to make this team get to the next level?
I think what I saw when I got the offer, I was pretty surprised because they're the best team in Denmark and one of the best in the world, right?
Yeah.
They just needed a little more extra to become the best. So yeah, when I got the offer, I was on the way out of CSGO basically, and I was on the way to finish my master degree. And
that's right.
Like, now CSGO is done. But they came in and I was like, okay, let's give it a year and see what happens. But one of the main concerns I had about the team was like, they felt flat on the T side. It felt like they had too slow paced, and they were putting situations where they might do wrong decisions based off maybe some nerves and stuff like that. So I think what I brought was explosiveness. That means the players don't have to decide to go A or B in that moment. If I say A, we all explode and we trade. And I felt that made them better in that sense of how they reacted and we could trade.
Yeah.
Because that was the main concern when FaZe played. It felt like so slow paced, and it felt obvious where they went that they couldn't use the skills.
It's very readable, yeah.
Yeah, but the CT side was always good, so I didn't change anything to that. So I think I just brought a new identity, new ideas to the table that I've never seen before. And I'm come from a different era of CS, right? I came from 1.6 and they had a source caller. So I think it just gave some fresh ideas to the table, and I think that's why we also overcame the situation and won some tournaments in that year.
Yeah, you guys did manage to get some trophies, but as you mentioned, kind of the big ones always still eluded you. Is that mostly like the mental game that you kind of just touched on, and what kind of we saw from the outside was just pressure got to this team and got to these guys? Like, what was it that prevented you guys still from kind of, yeah, you won some trophies, but not the Colognes, not the Katowices, not the majors, not the ones that you've kind of identified as the big events? Like, did you notice anything that you thought you just weren't able to fix that would help them get over it?
I think it's a very good question, actually, because when I think back now, it's 7 years ago. You didn't really have a structure behind you. We had TSM who honestly didn't really care about the CSGO team, and that's why we left in the end. But I think when you don't have like an organization, you don't really talk with players like what's happening in the major. You're just playing. And that's what I remember 6-7 years ago. You just play, like if you lost, you lost, and you figure out why you lost. So I don't know what exactly was wrong. Could be that I also called bad under pressure. It could be that some of the players thought about it was a major and therefore they played 5% worse. And we all know in every sport, if you play 5% worse than your normal and 5% slower reaction time or decision making, you lose the game. But I also feel like we always went kind of deep. But in my opinion, we also played NIP, the best team in the world, in the semi-final, right?
A lot of tough teams at that time, yeah.
Exactly, but obviously we won some other tournaments, so it's really hard to say in that sense what was wrong. But yeah, in the later stages, we obviously saw the game differently, and that's why it completely crashed in the end.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is like obviously towards the end of Astralis, it was very well. I mean, maybe not very well publicized, but a lot of public conversation was around karrigan losing a little bit of trust in the team, not kind of really fully buying into his calling, and we just kind of saw it sort of petering out. You were eventually benched. Is that kind of what you felt in the team? Did you feel some of that confidence in you slipping?
Yeah, I think the biggest change that happened was that we got Kirby instead of Cajun at that period of time.
Yeah.
I remember we had some situation with the vetoes. There was something about cobblestone and not playing it or playing it with the team. We lost the tournaments because of that, and you, like for me, I was trying to find the small percentages in a V2 or whatever.
Yeah, you like messing with vetoes quite a bit.
So, and that obviously maybe can cost us, but it can also win us some games and stuff like that. So it started a little bit there, but also think we had a huge problem that we didn't realize before signing Kirby was the role overlaps that Dupree and Kirby had.
Yeah.
They both liked it to be in that trio of group to take map control, and that was a situation we couldn't fix. We had to take Dupree and put him instead of Kirby or whatever we had to do because Cajun was a different player than Kirby. And I think we couldn't figure it out in the end. And I just remember some of the rounds where I want to do a fake, even though we don't maybe have map control, because I believe the seats is all rotating, where the team rather want just to execute 20 seconds left. And right there, it's a philosophy of like trust and how you see the game. And for me, it's very hard to change the way I see the game. I can adapt to small things in the mid and stuff like that, but if I'm very explosive as a caller, I cannot play 15 rounds just default and figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
I can do it sometimes, but if I feel like I have a read, then I have to go with that, because if I don't do that, I feel like I'm not playing my own game as well.
Yeah. When you look back now, you know, in hindsight, is there a particular lesson that you took from your time in TSM that made you be a better leader going forward, both in-game leader and leader of the team?
I think the past few months in Astralis, I realized if I don't trust myself and don't believe in that direction I want to call, it doesn't really matter, because I wasn't happy waking up and going to practice because I felt like I was in the wrong. Every time I had a thought, I felt like that's a bad thought. I had to think this way. That's how the team wants.
Yeah.
And that's never going to work. In that sense, I have to change how I have seen the game for many years. And if I was 18 years old, it'd probably be easier to change my whole vision
to adapt,
because I've been part of many metas now. And I think at that moment I knew I need to be somewhere where the organization and the players trust me in the direction we are going. And if not, then I'll just go somewhere else. I've done this a few times in my career now where it doesn't work out. I know to be the best caller in the world and be the best version of myself, I have to trust myself 100%. And even if my players only trust me 98%, that's enough. But if it starts to be like 80%, and then it's hard for me to keep believing myself if I'm wrong, right? So I think the lesson was like, be true to myself, be happy where I am, because like if you wake up every day going to work and you're not happy, then you're going
to struggle at work, I want to ask about this, and this maybe hits a little bit more emotional. What was it like watching that Astralis team after you left become the greatest team of all time? Like kind of find that success that eluded you and them when you were within the roster, and you were kind of, you know, you were obviously on FaZe and on different teams, but you know, you kind of had to watch all these guys go on to win, 4 majors, the greatest team of all time. Did that add like a little bit of pressure to you? Were you ever like sitting there in the mornings just being like, this sucks, like maybe I was actually like, you know, I don't know what had been going through your head?
No, actually not really, because I tried to look at the situation as like they won the first major right after Kirby. That kind of hurt a little bit, because that was like 4 months after I left, and they kind of made a way to Kirby. But I think the biggest change that Astralis had, and to this day, was Maggie's coming in, changed a lot of the dynamic, and suddenly you look at the core of the players is also growing, and they're becoming better players. The Vice became a way better Orbit than he was under my wings, right?
Yep.
And that's because like he improves over time, right? So I always try to do it like this. I could have been, maybe I could have stayed and we would have done the same, maybe not. But I can never like live in regrets in that sense that, I should have stayed, I should have believed in their way to see the game, because I would never be able to probably adapt to that what Glaive had to come, because he came in on a structure. They knew after me how they wanted to play CSGO, and during my time when I was there, they had no direction. So I had to create direction, and then we create another direction because it's not working anymore, right? And so I think that the thing that happened with Astralis was the perfect storm, to that sense that they came with a sports psychologist as well. I worked 1 week with a sports psychologist before I got benched. So it's not like I had time either to work with that.
To develop.
Exactly. So I think I was happy where I were, because I joined FaZe Clan and they took really good care of me, and I decided, okay, Astralis on another route. I want to make international team compete at the highest level. So in a sense, if I would have gone to a second best Danish team, I think it would hurt me more in that sense that I would never be able to pick any players from Astralis. Or if you did good, we will lose players to Astralis. So I was on a different path, so to say. And obviously I'm happy for the guys, because they deserve it, because how much time they have been
and work they put in.
And how much often we've been called chokers and had to listen to all that kind of stuff. So now it just was me in the end who had to listen to it, but
Well, I mean, you just mentioned it. You went on to FaZe after that, and you built this international super team. But like kind of a big difference there from like a core of guys that had been together for a long time, and this FaZe roster was literally the best of every scene essentially. So, I mean, what was that kind of like putting that team together and you have this superstar roster and right out of the gate, like with the names you bring in, Olaf and Nico and Rain obviously being there, you guys are expected to just win pretty much immediately.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fun thing about the FaZe Clan, right? When I joined, they never made like playoff, and I was like 4 days within the team, and we made playoff instantly in the E-League. And I just remember Rain coming over to me, "Thank you for making playoff, man. I've been trying to make playoff for 1 year here in this team with G2 and FaZe Clan." So obviously over there, I knew like, okay, this is a guy who wants to work really hard to make this work, right? And yeah, the team back then was nothing special. It was more like misfits. It was Kiyoshima was not good enough for the best French team.
Yep.
Alu was not good enough for NIP at that point, right?
Yep.
Then we had AC, who left North Dignitas back then to join into the roster. So the roster was a mixture of not good enough for the scene, and that's how we started, right? And right out the gate, I think we did really good at creating us a top 10 team stable. But obviously when Nico came in, that's where we had that firepower that we could fight all the other teams in that sense. And yeah, then we kept on improving and became number 1 and number 2 in the world. And then we got all of Guardian. Now it was a different pressure, a different scenario where people wanted to join FaZe Clan. Because when I joined, people didn't want to join. Right. They didn't want to leave their best team in Sweden. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that where it changed the whole FaZe Clan, kind of changed international team where you can actually get the players instead of getting someone who is benched. And that was the key difference for international roster, I think.
What was that like as an in-game leader? Because you came from like a Danish team, a core that had been together, and as you mentioned, you kind of helped them bring in a system, and they probably wanted to play a little bit more fundamental, but then you come to this team, and as you're replacing players, you're bringing all these individually great guys, but did it feel as a leader at that point that you were trying to institute a system, or was it like, man, I've got so much of this skill, like let's just let the skill like I remember the New York event that you guys won. It was like probably one of the greatest tournament runs any team is ever going to have, like just because everyone was at the top of their game, and it was not even fair to watch. Like, you know, that seems like an event coming into it as an in-game leader where you probably just were like, I don't have to do anything, like I'm just chilling.
But that's the thing, when you have so much firepower, even we have now, I think the most important thing is you have an overall system where people understand what their role is, how they should react, and how they play. So for me, the way I saw the game, obviously, where Astralis is way more fundamental, I would say I'm way more explosive, get a lot more freedom, makes my style fit it better in the international team because I'm able to do random calls on the fly, push through smokes on my feeling because I know the trading and understanding of these players are really high on the game sense, right? Yeah. So we have maybe less basic agreements, so to say, but people understand their role and how they need to play in that specific area on the map. So for me, for example, Robs is the best lurker in the world, so I have to make sure that he's able to lurk. Yeah. That's like my whole point as an IGL, and not overall like a fundamental structure, but more understanding his point of view, how he needs to play his best game.
Right.
So I think that's what I've been really good at, is trying to figure out what my players are best at, and sometimes push them out in their weakness to see how can they adapt. Sometimes I put them back in the comfort zone, just play your own game, and we play off that. And I also think that's why Nico played really good under FaZe Clan, because he could, whenever he wanted, he could strafe. There was nobody ever going to say no to him if he says, I'm going for contact play. Yeah. Then I would create a plan based off that. Yeah. So I always feel like, as a player, I was a start player in 1.6, that if I say, well, I want to go B, I feel like the call is like, this guy believes he's going to kill B, let's just go with him, because nobody's going to say, I want to go here, at least that's the feeling of the game. So I think feeling has always been what I try to improvise for the players, but sometimes it's tough when the players don't feel it, they don't go for the peaks. I have to create, suddenly need to have that system around the team to make sure that we get in those scenarios.
That you can fall back on in case it all goes
so that has been the plan all along. Like you say, New York, I could just say contact A and round was over, right? So
that's a unique event.
Exactly. So that's not always going to happen, and like I think it just comes down to that when everybody hits their peak. I think you have to win the tournament when everybody's doing that. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're Navi, Astralis, or INS. Like you have to win the tournament. Everybody's on 110%. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, unfortunately, at least for your first stint in FaZe coming around, you ran into that same kind of an issue that you had in Astralis, where this one was highly publicized. The swap to Nico as the in-game leader, him kind of taking over the reins a little bit, and you just kind of falling into a general player within the team. Again, is that kind of like what would happen? You felt it again, like losing that confidence? Is there something that spurred that on?
Yeah, I think it was a long time coming, right? I think the Boston Major hurt the Katowice
Yeah.
final 1 month after destroyed us in that sense that it happened again. And that's like Boston, you can lose a tournament in that sense, how we do in Boston. It's not impossible.
Not unheard of,
Yeah, but if you go to the next final and you somehow lose in a 15-14 round where you're 3-on-1 or 2-on-1 and Flusher goes full ham like it's 2015 again, then I think that was the one that hurt, because then something happened in Olof's private life, obviously, that made him take a step back from the game.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's not what we needed. We needed to stay together to win the next tournament.
Yeah.
And I think coming with a stand-in, that's one of the things always. When you come in a stand-in for one tournament, I change a little my calls, but if I have it for 4 months, I change DNA of the team, identity of the team, the way I see the game. And on the same time, Astralis is coming on a mid to a rise with Magisk and taking over the world. So I think the pressure, and also I think I couldn't improve the team not knowing who's playing the next tournament. So I could not go in and make new tactics, studying the game. I could only trying to. It felt like the boat was full of water after Katowice, and I had to get the water out all the time.
You're just shoveling.
Shoveling out all the time, and it just kept sinking and sinking. And we won some tournaments, and that's why you called really good this tournament. Next tournament I'll get that was not so good calls. So it's it was like an up and down, and I think that's what the end made me not trust myself in that sense. If somebody said me something, I agree, instead of I don't agree, stand my point of view. And
Hold your ground.
Yeah, and I think obviously there were some big players in the team, and when first you start talk a little bit behind the scene, then obviously it kind of spreads. And I understand. I know Olof and Rain is loyal soldiers. They don't really have a meaning. They just follow, and that's what happened in the teams. Who it was or how it happened doesn't really matter. I wasn't the best version of myself at that point because I wasn't motivated. And to add one last thing, I think the second we got Olof back, as sports psychologists would have helped us to say that Olof is back doesn't mean you're number one now. Because there was been 4 or 5 months where Astralis took over, won everything, and we beat them in Sydney. But I remember Olof came in, 1 week practice, everybody's like, we're going to win this tournament. No, we're not. That's not how it works.
It doesn't just click back in.
Exactly. And then we lost some 16-14, 16-14, and then we went on break, and then the major started, and that was a very shaky major, and like you said, Nico took over there, and then they all really came back to being normal after that.
The Boston Major loss, obviously, we don't need to go deep. I think everyone knows the disaster that happened there. But was that something that weighed on you, now that you have your major, looking back on it, is the sting less? Or
actually, it's a funny thing. I don't think it didn't sting much. I knew that's the only one game I haven't rewatched for 5 years. I rewatch every single game. Doesn't have a group stage online game or whatever. But I knew at the Boston Major, I was in a situation I've never been before because it was 15-11 on Inferno. And Cloud9 is playing great. We're losing all members. We're in T-side. We win the round, but we have 3.2k. In what mind do I have 5 seconds to think about we need to do a Glock eco when we won the round? So I realized after the game, if I just end the same scenario where we're 15-11, just do a full eco, even though we won the round before that, because you just need 1 round.
Yeah.
And I don't think I understood at that point because maybe I had so much confidence in the team, we can just do
whatever,
little small buy here, and then the money got really screwed, and suddenly it's 15-14, and I do a call at 15-14 where it's the right call. It's just Stewie hit some good shots. Yeah. If Stewie doesn't hit the flick on first box, he will maybe crumble under pressure another time. He doesn't hit that flick, we win the round. That's how I see the situation. I'm understanding that if I get in the same scenario, I would do a different call with the economy, but I would still do the same call because I know there's 4 guys A, and we are 4 on 5 in that scenario. So I think I learned that even though it went wrong, just if I still believe, I will still do it to this day the same, besides the economy, then I'm still doing the right thing. At some point it's going to switch. And what happened in the Navi game was we went back to A, and the 4 seconds planted the bomb, nobody A. The lurker killed, Robs killed the last guy in A. And this is funny how the story suddenly switches to, that's a great call, that's a bad call. That's how in CS, and you just have to believe. But like I said, I think the Katowice, that was the one that
really broke the team.
That really broke me as well in that sense, poof.
Just a shattering of confidence.
Because the Boston Major was tough in that sense. We were huge favorites, and I think we were overconfident. But also just think the mindset was that I remember after that I just went on vacation 1 week and we didn't talk as a team. There was like many different things that were done different now.
Yeah.
But calling wise and believing in what we did, I would still today I would do the same. And I think having that mindset is really good and not living in regrets. But obviously, if my career ended without a major, then I would probably look back at that of like, that was a chance, right? So I think I just appreciate the moments more now.
Gotcha.
Than before.
Learn to enjoy them.
Yeah.
And then after FaZe, I mean, you had this stint in Mousesports, and I'll be honest with you, I was actually kind of surprised just looking it up before the interview. You were there for like over a year. Like that time in Mousesports after FaZe was like, it felt to me like it was like 6 months. But you rattled off a good amount of wins at the end of 2019 before COVID really kind of sunk in and hit. But I mean, that was a new project for you compared to some of the other teams, because you came into a team that had a lot of like inexperienced players, players who hadn't really established themselves as identities as players. Was that kind of fun to be able to take the reins of like a younger team after playing with so many established stars and personalities and egos?
I actually think it helped my career to where I am today, because I came from a team where it was hard to change the structure of how I see things, how we need to work, how we need to understand the map. So coming into Mouse was like, okay, this is young guys, they're looking up to me. I need to understand that I am the key person in this team. I need to step as a leader. I cannot be frustrated. I can never be tilted. I have to be there every single moment for them to understand that if they have a bad game, I'm there to help them to improve. And I wasn't the same in FaZe, because there was not room for me to be a stronger voice, so to say. There was strong voices, not egos per se, but it was just different. In Mouse, it was kind of a little quiet.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to win a tournament. Maybe Robs did, but besides that, everybody was pretty young in like understanding how to win the games and win, right? So coming in there, like I saw how good they were, how they worked, and I told them, guys, even we made like. We were a stable top 15 team, and people like, karrigan is done because I don't win a tournament in 2 months with young guys.
Yeah.
But it just shows me, like, if I have a plan, it took me 8 months, 9 months to activate these players, and one role switch, and suddenly the whole team popped off, right?
You guys won like 4 events in a row as well, then the year or something like that, right?
Exactly, and that was like right before that. I told Mouse we need to change, or I do my backup plan. I changed roles in the team, and I made them realize that okay, if it doesn't work, we need new players. But suddenly won tournaments because of that role change, right? So
that one little detail.
Yeah.
What was the role change?
There was I wanted Frozen to be more interfrag in the beginning, so he could get experience to be how understand the game, and I could learn him up. And I had Chris as a lurker and secondary caller. That didn't work, so I changed Frozen with Chris J. So me and Chris was entering, and Frozen was then a lurker. And I told him, now you're in a 1-on-1. Every time something happens on the map, understand your 1-on-1 duel, take a duel, and be more aggressive than Rob. So we had like a more aggressive lurk and passive lurk and Robs to finish the round and see where Frozen is now. He's been a fantastic player since that, right? So I think that change really made our team a lot more dynamic.